This is the AEW Dynamite Beach Break 2024 full show results video which happened at Chicago's Wintrust Arena. The show opens with Renee Paquette backstage with Daniel Garcia, who is accompanied by Daddy Magic, Matt Menard. Garcia says he's no stranger to pressure, but this is the most important night of his life and he respects everything about Will Ospreay, but he's promised himself that he's not losing this match. MJF rolls up to give him a pep talk. Daniel wants to open up last week's weirdness, but MJF says he's focused on one thing at a time and there'll be time for that later and he'd like to be in Garcia's corner. Daniel accepts and Matt takes MJF aside and tells him he's done a lot for him lately and he's good by him. Then we saw the Owen Hart Cup semi-finals match between Bryan Danielson vs. Pac, and the result of this match was Bryan Danielson defeated Pac by pinfall with a crucifix pin. Renee Paquette interviews Willow Nightingale backstage and Nightingale says, "Nothing matters, smile anyway," is her mantra. The word she lives by, and she has to look on the bright side in this world of pain and suffering, but Kris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway mock her. But they don't understand that it's for people who need it, for the little girl who wanted to be one of the best wrestlers in the world who got knocked down and got up again, and she's going to kick Statlander's butt and make her way to the world title. Mark Briscoe is in the ring to cut a promo and he says he represents the baddest tag team there's ever been, the Briscoe brothers, dem boys. They call him Chicken, but he ain't scared of shit, and last week he came within inches of becoming TNT champion, but Jack Perry must have eaten an extra bowl of Lucky Charms and shoved a horseshoe up his ass to win the ladder match. But that was last week, and he's worried about this week, and this week is Shark Week, and when he thinks of a shark, he thinks of blood, and when he thinks of blood, he thinks of guts, and he wants to declare himself part of Team AEW for blood and guts. Jack Perry slides in the ring behind Briscoe and cracks him in the head with the TNT Championship, and Kyle O'Reilly arrives to equalize him and he beats Jack down for a moment, but Kazuchika Okada makes the save. The Young Bucks come to the stage and saunter their way down to the ring to hold court with all their gold, hits EVP Trigger and the Acclaimed come down, and the Elite scatter. Renee Paquette interviews Toni Storm backstage as she cradles Mariah May in her bosom and asked about her match against Hikaru Shida on Friday. May is hesitant, but Toni gives her a pep talk and reminds her she'll have her girls with her and gets Mariah to drop her catchphrase for her. Then we saw the Owen Hart Cup semi-finals match between Kris Statlander vs. Willow Nightingale, and the result of this match was Willow Nightingale defeated Kris Statlander by pinfall with a folding press. Britt Baker comes to the ring and she gets on the mic and says she missed us and she thought way too long and way too hard what she would say when she came back and came to the conclusion that she should just talk to us. She wants to talk about three things we all have: past, present, and future. Past is a lesson, present is a gift, and future is a motivation. In November she was banged up and running on empty, but she looked in the mirror and said she was good, until one day she wasn't, because one day she started feeling really sick. The room spun, her vision blurry, and her right arm was tingling and numb, and she was good and tried to open a bottle of water and couldn't. She told Tony Khan she needed to stay home and get herself right, and he said okay, let him know when you're good. Jumping to the present, she's here, she's clear, and she's healthy, and on Sunday when she needed pro wrestling, we welcomed her back with open arms and DMD chants. On to the future, and motivation, she says when you're going through a hard time, be present and go through it, because it'll be better on the other side, because we all possess the impulse to be elite. DMD says she hears we have a new female face of the company and she runs Mercedes Mone down for having 3 letters that she didn't earn and that she forced chants with her entrance music. A car horn honks and a vehicle rolls up on the Tron and Mercedes Mone steps out, both titles in hand, and she greets the Young Bucks outside and they tell her championship celebration is ready. Crew members festoon the ring with balloons while Britt stands there and Mercedes makes her entrance and dances like Baker isn't standing there before making a show of realizing she's there and asking if she interrupted something. She tells Chicago it's time to celebrate with your double champion, and Britt says she gets it, she outshined her moment at Forbidden Door, so now she's trying to outshine hers. Britt Baker says she wants to show everyone what a real star looks like, and Baker challenges her to a match at All In. Mercedes pops her in the face, stretching her hand out, and says there's a long line and Britt needs to get in the back of the line, and Britt calls her a bitch and asks what line, and Mone tells her there's a price to pay and dances away from her. Renee Paquette interviews Will Ospreay backstage, but Don Callis rolls up before he can answer, and Will asks Renee to give them the room and tells Don he doesn't have to say anything, it's not his fault, it's Ospreay's. He hit the referee and couldn't hit the Tiger Driver, and he knows he's gonna say just hit it, but he's not that guy anymore. He tells Callis all he's done for him and he professes his loyalty, but his heart broke on Sunday and he wants out of the Don Callis family. Callis says he's not normally in the habit of letting people out of signed agreements, but he's so proud of Will and what he's done with his life, he's happy to do him the favor, and maybe one day he'll ask him for a favor, and they hug while Kyle Fletcher looks conflicted behind them and Don leaves and takes Kyle with him. Chris Jericho makes his entrance and says he has to have his TV time and he's gonna do some commentary. Hook broke the cardinal sin of the wrestling business, stealing his finish. He berates Taz for cheering and clapping for Hook like a mark, and that's why he spoke to the Young Bucks, because if he's doing commentary he can't have Taz sitting next to him, so he got them to relieve Taz of his commentary duties for the rest of the evening and has to leave the arena. Then we saw a match between Cage of Agony vs Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, and Samoa Joe, and the result of this match was Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, and Samoa Joe won the match by submission with sleeper holds in triplicate. Post-match, Chris Jericho goes to congratulate them, but Big Bill and Brian Keith attack the babyfaces from behind. Samoa draped over the steps as Bill hammered him with a steel chair and Chris has brass knuckles and drops Hook with a right hand, and they set up a table and Big Bill chokeslams Hook through it. Then we saw the Owen Hart Cup quarterfinals match between Hangman Adam Page vs Jeff Jarrett, and the result of this match was Adam Page won the match by pinfall with Deadeye. Renee Paquette interviews Adam Page, but the Young Bucks roll up and shoo her away and congratulate him on crushing it, and they suggest that he should keep scratching their back and they need him for blood and guts. Hangman grabs Matthew by his lapels and says he's not a puppet or a child and he doesn't need any more games and he's in the Owen and he's going to win the Owen. In the main event of the show, we saw a match between Daniel Garcia vs Will Ospreay for the AEW International Championship, and the result of this match was Will Ospreay won the match by pinfall with Hidden Blade, retaining the AEW International Championship. Post-match, Garcia is down and out in the corner, emotional over his loss, and Will comes over to give him a pep talk even as Max looms in the background glowering, and Ospreay gives Daniel a round of applause and leaves. MJF tells Garcia that it was on him, it's not his fault and the people still love him, and he helps him up and raises his hand, and hugs him, before kicking him right in the gentleman's area. He pulls the ring out and slides it on his finger but has to turn around and deck Matt Menard first, spitting on Daniel, yelling for him to get up, and he drops Garcia with a loaded punch. Garcia's bloodied and Max keeps attacking him and hawking loogies, but Daniel, even dazed and drooling, wants to get up. Matt Menard is also bloody to hell. MJF gets Garcia up on the second, and Christopher Daniels trying to talk sense into him and hits Avalanche Tombstone Piledriver. Will Ospreay finally comes back as MJF is punching harder and harder, and Max runs away through the stands. He spits on a fan as Garcia is stretchered out and Daniels pleads with Ospreay to keep his cool and the show goes off the air.